Hello, all my dear friends. Welcome to yet another Reading Epic Threads live stream. October 24th, 2021, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time, coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm your host, Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm your host, Patrick Gunnels. Thank you so much for being here. We have had such a great time so far here at the Patriots Double Down. It was fun today. We really enjoyed it. And we're going to have a party pretty soon. I'm, of course, here with Mermaid Miss K, the Rattler Gator, Matthew Trump, Saint Richie, Sarah Brunette is here. Charlene is here, although I don't think Charlene was watching the show. Patel Patriot, of course, is here. So we'll be hanging out with all those people at the party. So it's just a great time. And thanks to everybody for supporting this trip. Very much appreciate it. For those of you who caught Patel Patriot, I thought he was great. I thought he was concise. I thought he boiled it down. What is kind of interesting is how matter of fact he is saying some of the things that he says. Patel is very low key. He's very calm, kind of like the opposite of me. And he is literally talking about the United States military seizing the reins of power covertly because the United States had a gigantic coup attempt with the help of foreign powers. So there's that. Patel was great, though, and he's the only, really, seriously, obviously the best speech by far at this event. And I personally include in that the Jim Caviezel speech, which, in my humble opinion, was just an actor reading words somebody else wrote. He did a great job, but I could totally see what he was doing. I do it every single day when I hop on here and read you guys epic threads. He's a wonderful performer. He's magnificent. Jim Caviezel is great, etc. However, Juan O'Savin got out there and acted like he was going to part the freaking heavens, and God knows who was going to be there. So anyway, whatever. I thought Patel was the best by far of anybody at this event. The most important message by far of anybody at the event. So, it's just, and I guess I'm biased, but I don't think so. Hey guys, Andy Foster's in the house, and I've got the Devolution green t-shirt. USAdevolution.com, promo code Shapiro. Check it out. Yes, a great speech, but he's just an actor. That's it. AZ Finn. Hi, AZ Finn. So let's just say hello to those of you who are here. Oh, he didn't get to the IP addresses. Damn it. Whatever. All right. You're right, Joanne. Lisa Gag, Joanne Pappas, Richard Rohr, JC Bird, Connie McKenzie, Mermaid Miss K, DW Bearden, Eileen 325, Sailing Mom 728, Joanne Pop. Oh, sorry, said Joanne Pappas. Sailing Mom 728, DW Bearden, AZ Finn, and we have Andy Foster, curious to see today. We have Alex Jablanowski. Matthew Trump is here, also with me in Vegas. We'll be hanging out with Matthew Trump tonight down at the party. Bruno's mom, Razor Sharp. Am I missing anybody? I don't know. Karen E., how are you? 45-1. Mr. Bax 222. All right, excellent. Eileen 325. All right, so nice cozy stream today, and that feels great. So apparently there's the White House YouTube channel, and comments were accidentally left on. So this is apparently a video of Joe Biden visits Scranton, Pennsylvania to discuss his infrastructure deal and Build Back Better agenda. Build Back Better is just 666. Lowercase b is a 6. So bear that in mind. Johnny Bays says, when was this? I'm pissed. I would have loved to have shown him how Scranton feels about him. Let's go, Brandon. Worst president in history. Next. Look at those beautiful earrings. I bet his boyfriend loves it. Johnny Bays. How many times is this guy going to violate the Constitution and not be held liable? Next. Let's go, Brandon. Next. Let's go, Brandon. Next. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go. Next. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Next. I wonder if they all got to smoke crack with Hunter after this event. I think you get the idea. They forgot to turn off comments. There are no exceptions. Special Ops Kim is not editing out all the positive comments. It's just 100% screw this guy, go to hell, and let's go, Brandon. So that makes me a little on the happy side. All right. He gave up a promising career to save trafficked children. You're talking about Jim Caviezel or who? All right. Oh, by the way, it's very important. Hey, J Bell, how are you doing? So, long story short, I'm delighted about Jim Caviezel. I'm delighted about the movie, The Sound of Freedom. I'm delighted about all of it. I was annoyed at the degree to which 107 oversold it. I'm kind of annoyed in general, the degree to which they oversold the speakers at this event. So that's how I feel. Patel did phenomenally well for a first public speaking engagement. He was great. He's great. He's a charming guy. But it wasn't the manner of delivery, which was excellent. He was great. The message was just really well put together. In retrospect, I really wish that he had had time to cover the IP addresses now that you mention it. But you can't cover all of everything that he's studied and written about, because it's just been an enormous amount of information. All right, what do you say we get moving and look at a theory about why Trump is talking vax? Thanks to Special Ops Kim. This quote comes from joannef.substack.com. Why is he talking about the vax? Question everyone is asking about every Trump interview and speech. I get it. You're all jazzed to watch a Trump rally streaming live or to catch an interview. You're wondering what is new. Is there any glimmer of hope that President Trump will make a return to office or be able to influence the direction of our country? Then he goes back to the damn vaccinations and even brags about Operation Warp Speed. Doesn't he have a clue about what's going on with those vaccinations? How can he not know these things are not necessarily a great idea for everyone? Why is he recommending the vaccination? Okay. We've all been wondering this for months. There was even one week where it seemed like all our conservative heroes were out there saying, go get the vaccination. It left us scratching our heads. Some of us have had allergic reactions to too many medical elements, and there was no way to even know what all was in the vaccinations. Others with serious medical conditions were not at all comfortable with the lack of testing. Many just flat out didn't trust the medical community at this point. For all those who have read about and followed the documented proofs on devolution of government as a protection against homeland attack were flummoxed by this. Why aren't they protecting us against something that appears to be unsafe? And there are indications that the reporting of reactions is possibly being kept censored. Finally, as I was listening to a doctor talking about some of the things going on around the virus and treatments in an extensive interview this past week, I suddenly realized what was going on. I was listening to Dr. Ardis talk about what was happening at hospitals when patients presented with severe COVID symptoms. The hospital protocols he was witnessing were beyond alarming. The protocols were not the same for everyone. That's right. There were two kinds of protocols. One set for those who had been vaccinated and another set for those who were not vaccinated. Why are we not surprised? When someone presented to the ER because they were suspected to have COVID and it had reached the point where they were having difficulty breathing, so it was recommended they go to the hospital, the first question asked, of course, is their vaccination status. If the patient is fully vaccinated, the patient is not tested for COVID. If they were admitted and treated with hydroxychloroquine, even though this would not necessarily be the treatment written in the record, they were not treated with remdesivir, which is the only treatment recommended by the NIH. If the patient presenting at the ER indicated they were not fully vaccinated, they were immediately tested for COVID and started on remdesivir. They were given a dose of remdesivir that, according to Dr. Brian Ardis, is high enough to cause renal failure, kidney failure. Kidney failure causes the body to fill with fluid because the kidneys are not processing the fluids out of the body as urine. Often the antibiotic vancomycin is added to the regime, which increases the kidney failure. The lungs fill with fluid. The patient is placed on a ventilator. The lungs continue to fill with fluid. The patient dies. The vaccinated patient is treated and released. The unvaccinated patient is essentially murdered. I would think this was initially happening unbeknownst to the doctors and nurses prior to vaccinations. They are following the National Institute of Health guidelines for treatment. If they go to the CDC for guidelines for clinical management and treatment, they are referred over to the NIH website. Dr. Ardis mentioned communicating with a physician who had finally realized what was going on and sobbed. I know. It sounds shocking, harsh, horrible. That's the bottom line, according to what Dr. Brian Ardis has seen happening over and over. I highly recommend you go listen to his interviews for yourself. Obviously, you will not find these interviews on censored platforms. I will post links to a few places where you can find Dr. Ardis online at the end of this article. You will also want his extremely resourceful website. So, I was listening to this, and the light bulb suddenly went on. There is only so much reach that our minimum government heads in devolution can do to prevent the collapse of our nation until such time all corruption can be cleared. What choice would our former president have once he became aware of the fact that hospital physicians were being led to treat unvaccinated patients with a damaging dose of remdesivir? The only way he could limit the number of deaths due to COVID and vaccines right now was to recommend vaccination so we would be receiving appropriate treatment should we contract the virus and need hospitalization. It turns out at that point, without having this information up front, it was the best chance we could be given. But it doesn't have to be that way now. We can be aware of how to receive the best treatment possible, no matter what choice we need to make for ourselves on the vaccines based on our medical history, our religious values, or just our own gut instincts on the lack of testing and information. I would not judge anyone for opting out or opting in. It's your informed decision to make, but get as informed as possible, including hearing out what doctors like Dr. Ardis have to say. And that's one person's theory as to why Donald Trump is talking about the vax. So how's everybody been doing this lovely weekend? Dr. Jay Blazer, how are you, sir? Dr. Brian Ardis is a freaking hero. Yeah, I think he is too. So I don't know exactly all of everything that's going on, guys, but whatever is going on is definitely it's going to be studied for many, many, many years. It's going to be studied for centuries, what's going on right now. But one of the things I would caution everybody against is thinking you know exactly what's going on. I like this theory from Joanne F. I like it a lot. I think it makes some sense. I don't know for a fact that these people are genuinely just poisoning people who are unvaxxed. If they are, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think that ignorance of what they're doing should be a defense. I think they should be held accountable criminally for that. If they're genuinely giving different treatments to the unvaccinated and noticing that they're all just dying, I think those physicians, at number one, should never be able to practice medicine again and should spend a hefty period of time in prison for murder, essentially. You guys maybe call it involuntary manslaughter. I don't know. But after this is over, we need to have widespread criminal accountability for the white coats. Okay. Let's keep on going because we got Special Ops Kim. All right. Biden forced Americans into a game of chicken over their livelihoods, and they're not flinching. By Kylie Zempel, as usual, hat tip to Special Ops Kim. Somebody's got to give in this game of chicken, and Biden is gambling that it will be you. It's time to make sure he loses that bet. There's this iconic scene in the 1984 movie Footloose, where Kevin Bacon's city boy character, Ren McCormick, goes head-to-head with his macho antagonist, Chuck Cranston, to show who's the bigger man in a game of chicken. The two young men mount tractors on opposite ends of a single-lane road facing each other and drive full speed ahead to see who flinches first. In this hazardous game, one of them must swerve off the path or both could die in the head-on collision, but the first one to swerve will be dubbed the chicken for his cowardice. After Ren's shoelace gets caught on the throttle, keeping him unwittingly on the path, Chuck embarrassingly barrels off his rig at the bitter end into a ditch of water right in front of his girlfriend, who subsequently falls in love with the victor. That scene keeps coming to mind as President Joe Biden's administration squares off with the American people. The president, who promised unity, leadership, and a return to normalcy, has challenged you to a game of chicken, is charging at you, and is waiting for you to flinch. Nowhere has this intimidation tactic been as clear as with medically coercive vaccine mandates. Near the start of Biden's tenure, after shots were rolled out quickly thanks to Trump's efforts, Biden left no doubt about his position. It wasn't just that vaccines were good, but that everyone who was eligible for a vaccine should get one as soon as possible. So, Americans began doing calculations. Many who knew that their risk factors were heightened prudently jumped in line for the first available shots, but others, not so much. Lots of pregnant women paused, unwilling to undertake extra risks quite yet. Many others with natural immunity decided to sit this one out for a while, as did a horde of the young and the healthy, who have never been at serious risk of dying from COVID-19. After shooting up immediately, vaccination numbers then stalled, which didn't please the Democrat administration that had promised to shut down the virus. Biden's patience began wearing thin. And so there were talks of vaccine passports. New York City instituted them, and federal bureaucrats, such as the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, touted them as a potential path forward in July. At that time, Biden was toying with the idea of requiring shots not just for medical workers, but for all federal employees. Opponents were seeing the writing on the wall when the ruling class began medically segregating people into first and second class citizens. The fight became less about the necessity of universal vaccination and more about the importance of medical freedom. And instead of falling in lockstep with the administration's goals, Biden's detractors began piling onto the opposing tractor. Biden didn't veer. He forged full speed ahead with the declaration that in addition to all federal workers, all private workers for companies with at least 100 employees would need to get the jab or get endlessly tested, reportedly affecting more than 80 million private sector Americans. Despite this fascist announcement being nothing more than a press release, companies caved to the president's wishes left and right. From hospitals and major airlines to police departments and universities, head honchos adopted Biden's refrain, "Get a COVID shot or be fired." With alarming authoritarianism, Biden and the private sector chiefs he deputized to enforce his vax ambitions went full throttle. A refusal to flinch. Something remarkable has occurred in response. Countless American workers have remained unflinching. Instead of veering off the path, they've held the line, turning on their boots turning in their boots, hanging up their scrubs, and unpinning their wings. While the number of administered vaccine doses trended up slightly at the end of September and beginning of October, the jump wasn't drastic, and it actually appeared to coincide with a rise in booster shots. According to the data, the number of fully vaxxed Americans has gone up only 3 percentage points since Biden's fear-mongering private sector declaration more than a month ago on September 9th. Instead, what we've seen day after day are brave men and women who either kept driving ahead with worker strikes or counted the cost of medical freedom and opted to walk away completely from their careers. It's working. The more workers refuse to comply, the more other employees are emboldened to join them. And the more these freedom fighters pile on, the more their bosses learn things don't go so smoothly when the employees you rely on for everyday operations quit en masse. Take what happened with Southwest Airlines, which was forced to cancel several thousand flights just days after it mandated the vaccine for workers. A rumored sick out resulted in reportedly only 3 out of 33 air traffic controllers showing up for work. Despite Southwest's denial that the mayhem was a result of its vax policy, after several days of chaos, the airline changed course and walked back its pledge to begin putting workers who applied for vaccine exemptions on unpaid leave in December. As the Federalist reported on Wednesday, sources said that part of Southwest's meltdown was because pilots took their paid sick leave shortly before they were scheduled to be fired. A San Francisco In-N-Out burger is displaying the same courage, with the local health department shutting it down for not checking patrons' vaccination status. Quote, "We refuse to become the vaccination police for any government," In-N-Out Chief Legal and Business Officer Arnie Wensinger told Newsweek. "We fiercely disagree with any government dictate that forces a private company to discriminate against customers who choose to patronize their business. This is clear government overreach." End quote. Non-compliant health workers are quitting or being fired in droves. By Monday, 1/3 of Chicago's desperately needed police were reportedly still unvaccinated, opting for unpaid leave over getting the shot. Seattle police officers and firefighters are getting similar treatment. After being fired for refusing to comply with medically coercive mandates, the brave first responders fed the homeless and then marched up to City Hall to return their boots. The fact is, this is the beginning of the fight, and if Americans chicken out and comply against their convictions, it will be the end of medical freedom. Several thousand workers across a few industries might be expendable to the COVID authoritarians right now, but weak points can only withstand so much pressure. The worker shortage is only getting worse. Somebody's got to give in this game of chicken, and Biden is gambling that it will be you. It's time to make sure he loses that bet. Timid Americans are holding out for a hero, for a reason, not to just give in and get this strong-arming over with, but we'll never escape tyranny by capitulating to it. Be the hero they need. When freedom is at stake, don't barrel off. Go full throttle. And that's from the Federalist, my friends. How y'all doing? Hey, all right. It's a lovely Sunday night. Got ourselves a bit of a cozy stream. All right. And the vast majority of all of you guys, I just want to say, those of you who are watching on YouTube, I know that YouTube is better when it comes to the quality, the buffering, and all that shit. But I am asking you as a personal favor, please go to twitch.tv/pgunnels and follow me there. There's a reason I'm saying that, guys. It's real simple. It's real simple. My time on YouTube, my days are hardcore numbered. They're gonna kick me off. There's no way around it. They're transcribing every single word that I say. So if you please, just do it now if you can. Go to twitch.tv/pgunnels, and then hit the little heart button under this video so that you can follow me. And also, it also helps to subscribe on Twitch. I definitely love that when you do that. I really appreciate it. All right, let's keep going. The mandate boomerang in play, St. Richie. All right, twitch.tv/pgunnels. All right, let's keep on moving. So I'm going to read you something from Charles Bernardin, The Anatomy of the Steal, the 4 phases of an election takeover. Former Michigan Senator Patrick Colbeck gives an excellent breakdown of the 2020 election robbery from a systems engineering perspective. Colbeck partitions the steal into 4 phases. 1, preparation. The key goal of this phase is to create and exploit weaknesses in our election system. How? By weakening the election record chain of custody for the 1, qualified voter file, QVF, 2, poll books, 3, ballots, 4, vote tally. The criminals start by seeding the QVF, qualified voter file. For example, there were more than 616,000 ineligible voters in the Michigan qualified voter file heading into the 2020 election. Other weakening measures include no excuse absentee voting, same-day voter registration, elimination of voter ID and signature verification requirements, and centralized networked voting systems. All of these erosions reduce the number of bad actors needed to steal an election. Phase 2, main attack. The central tool in this second phase is ballot stuffing via mail-in votes, enabled by seeding the qualified voter file with low propensity and ineligible voter. Low propensity means they're not likely to vote. Importantly, phase 2 requires an accurate prediction of voter turnout to be successful. If these forecasts fail, as they did in the 2020 election, the perpetrators have to shift to a backup plan, the backup attack phase. Phase 3, backup attack. Phase 3 involves algorithmic manipulation of the vote tally when ballot stuffing isn't netting enough votes. Lady Draza identified a digital fingerprint for something called the PID controller during this phase. As she was monitoring the election night results in multiple states, she noticed the cumulative vote total would periodically drop to 0 in the Edison reporting stream before surging back up. This is not normal. Once the vote tallies have been altered, ballots must be added for reconciliation. And that's exactly what we saw with the 3 a.m. ballot drop-offs at the TCF Center and the halted late-night vote counts in every swing state. 4, defense. The defense phase involves censorship and evidence destruction. Colbeck says canvassing is critical to combat the fraud and recommends starting with the qualified voter file. Also on Colbeck's investigation wish list, an audit of the election night reporting results from the precinct level to the New York Times. No one has done this yet. Thank you so much, Charles Bernardin. You are awesome, my friend. Kicked off 4 times. Jesus. Kicked off 4 times, Kristen? Oy vey. No wonder my numbers are so low. So guys, if you're watching me on Twitch right now and you're not subscribed to me, it would be really awesome if you'd go ahead and subscribe using your Amazon Prime account. What do you mean using your Amazon Prime account? Well, some of you may not know, but if you use your Amazon Prime account, you can subscribe to me on Twitch, supporting my channel financially without having to spend a single penny of your own money. Some of you might not know how to do this, but I can assure you, my little sister Rebecca made a video explaining how to do it, and it goes a little something like this.
How to sign up to Patrick's channel in Twitch with your Prime membership. So you get 1 free Twitch subscription with Prime. And a lot of us have Prime, might as well support Pat doing that. So I was a little confused, so I thought maybe others might be confused. So I have this cool technology that can record my screen. Don't look at the stuff I'm shopping for. Okay, so just go to your accounts and lists and go, this is in Amazon, and go to your Prime membership. And then you can go to explore my benefits. And I just did a search for Twitch, and then it takes you to Prime Gaming. And then in this area, you can actually connect your Twitch account. And there should be like, right in this area, there should be like a connect your Twitch account. And I did that. So that's why it looks like this. So then I was like clicking around trying to subscribe, and I did a search for Patrick, and it doesn't come up with anything. And so I was confused, and I was badgering Patrick, and he's like, I don't know, I just did it. And I'm like, you're dumb. So basically we figured out that what you do is you go to Twitch. So I went to Twitch, and in here it doesn't have like subscribe free, which is what Pat was saying it should say. So what you do is you actually click, so this is Pat's channel, it's pgunnels. You click subscribe, 20% off, you scroll down, and it looks like you have to pay, but actually, if you click this little checkbox, you can then subscribe with Prime. And after that, I have no experience, so if you do have experience, if you have to like do it every month or something, I don't know. I imagine not, but just comment in the comments after Pat posts this video if you have any more experience beyond that. All right?
All right, my friends. So check this out. I want to say a few shout outs. Number one, Starduster CT, Christine. Thank you so much for being my number one gifter of subscriptions. Super appreciated. Mark Conway, number two. JC Bird, number three. JC Bird is, of course, very often at number one. So thank you to those top three. Furthermore, I'd like to say a big shout out and thank you to a few of you people who just did subscribe. So Lisa G, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Shink187, I appreciate it. Twilight Zone 3, thank you for subscribing for 2 months. I really appreciate that. Jay Bell, thank you so much for the 1 month for the 1 month subscription. Guys, you got to check out Jay Bell _, here on Twitch. Jay Bell, JAEBELL _ on Twitch. She's a great researcher and sees a whole bunch of stuff that I miss. And it, for example, one thing is a comment that Donald Trump made, a statement where he said that John McCain got the longest funeral in history that he let him plan. So apparently McCain got to plan his own funeral, which meant that it was coming. He knew it was coming. So that was definitely very interesting. And then Shadow Slayer 87, I also appreciate you. Thank you very much for subscribing. Okay, so to subscribe to Jay Bell, it's twitch.tv/JAEBELL _. Bam. And then I'll just type that up. Bam. So if I hope I got right. Yeah, I got that right. So anyway, great researcher, strong recommendation there. Okay, so let's keep going. It's probably going to be a fairly short stream today because I got to get downstairs to the partay, and maybe I'll do a walk around interview and stuff, or maybe not. I don't know. We'll see what happens. All right, next. So Andre wanted to comment on my editorializing on his thread from yesterday. So one thing I commented on his thread was that he was suspicious of the graphene oxide as being something that could be synced up with some kind of radio technology, 5G technology, whatever, that would allow the transcription of your very thoughts. And I poo-pooed that as being a government claiming to have superpowers. So this is Andre's response. I'd like to go ahead and read that. Hi, Patrick. I do not out of hand reject your position that the government is not in possession of quote unquote superpowers, and that things like the jab patents, and for that matter, the absurd HARP, the controlling the weather thing, are disinformation intended to demoralize the population such that other, less miraculous forms of control are instigated. Occam's razor suggests this is a perspective that must be considered for sure. I do assert, however, that the precautionary principle forces us to take these potentially irreversible threats seriously and act to protect ourselves from these and the more banal threats simultaneously. In this regard, the answer is the same. Do not comply. Sufficiently advanced technology is capable of appearing to be magic or a superpower. But with advances in certain areas, those which may appear to be a claim of a superpower may indeed become feasible. I choose to act to protect myself, my family, and my future from all of these threats. Cheers for the ongoing support. Best regards, Andre. And next, he does a quick follow-up. One more thought. Patrick, I agree that detailed thought transcription is unlikely to be happening anywhere right now. But what if some basic emotional responses can be detected? What if a state of anger, revulsion, etc. can be detected? Combine that with facial recognition and tracking, and you have the ability to elevate control to an almost unimaginable level. Flash an image of the dear leader on a jumbotron in a stadium. See who gets pissed off. I do note that the thought control aspect is highly speculative and comes from a source other than the patents for the jab. The patents were primarily focused on the far more plausible tracking and tracing functions. I remain possessed by the precautionary principle, and in this regard, fear of science fiction-like outcomes keeps me sharp and looking for any and all threats, including digital currencies that will enslave us very effectively. Thank you very much for your clarifications and points, Andre. And just to talk about the digital currencies that will enslave us very effectively, I believe Andre is talking about what Catherine Austin Fitts refers to as central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. We must, with everything we have, make sure not ever to adopt a central bank digital currency. Very important to distinguish that from something that's decentralized like Bitcoin or Ethereum too. Those are not able to be seized by the government at this time. They're too decentralized. They're too far gone. But if the government comes out with like a digital dollar or something like that, be afraid. Very, very afraid. All right. What are you talking about? Let's see here. All right. Well, shit. If I'd had the money, I'd have paid the $600 plus to go there and see what he looks like. Every article makes me change the way I picture him in my head. All I know is he said Patrick makes him look like a shrimp. Oh, you mean St. Richie? I don't make St. Richie look like a shrimp. St. Richie is a normal-sized man, definitely. All right. He's also a very brilliant man. Okay. We have a new poem from Claude Bernardin. It is entitled, Winter is Coming. Truth is the war, the news is the lie. So get your vaccine. Go on, give it a try. Winter is coming. You better prepare. In the silence of the eye, there's a chill in the air. The battle's still rolling. The war isn't won. What kind of strange thing is this without the report from a gun? So much shuffle and dance, eyes blind, minds numb. Who pays for the laws broken? Will justice ever be done? One side took him down, then went quiet as a church mouse. Now they blame us for our demands, and I guess apologies are ruled out. We've been blamed for the vote, blamed for a walk, blamed for arguing race theory, gagged with masks to stop the talk, dishonored, defamed, erased, and called names, and they spit at us, that we put them in chains. I wasn't there in 1666. I wasn't there in 1776. I wasn't there in 1866, so give it a rest. All you angry, loudmouth, bigoted twits. Get back to work, get a job, love your kids, love your God, love your country, love the freedom with which we allow you to speak. Allow you to label and target and lie. Allow you to ruin your cities, destroy family and liberty, law and order nationwide. Allow you to mock. Allow you to ignore. Allow you to hide behind some lie called race war. One day we'll look back, perhaps 30 years from now, and realize it was all just another liberal agenda like COVID or mad cow. Another masterpiece, my brilliant friend. Forwarding to Epic Jill for publication in whatever sense Jill would like. It's fun to read too. It's almost like rapping. All right. What is up, Home Skillet? You're not gonna be dead. Why are you gonna be dead in 30 years, D.W. Bearden? You don't look old in your picture. You're not gonna be dead, bro. All right. So how's everybody doing? So long story short, we're going to do something. St. Richie's not going to be there. We're not going to be doing any lives with St. Richie. It's just a precaution, various reasons, and it's totally understandable. You gotta make your own decision for yourself and your family. St. Richie has a lot more hair. That's quite true. St. Richie has a much fuller, really impressive head of hair. All right. St. Richie's complimenting me. Patrick is so dedicated. It would be so easy to skip the stream, and he stays so devoted. Here's the other thing, St. Richie. If I don't get my little group therapy session, I start going into withdrawals. So there's that too. All right, guys. Now, put down a beat, Patrick. I know what you mean by that. All right. So we need to put down a beat for some of these Claude Bernardin poems. All right. So this is a Special Ops Kim email that's entitled, "No idea who wrote this, but the email is a graphic." Let me see how big it is. Oh, perfect. All right, let's do it. So this is called Trump's Gambit, sent to me by Special Ops Kim. We have heard it said many times that Donald J. Trump is a master chess player, a master at 3D or even 5D chess. I wonder if Trump even likes playing chess. This one thing I do believe. The 45th president always seems to be no fewer than 5 steps ahead of his enemies and has a remarkable ability to predict when and where his enemies will make their next move. I will admit that I'm not the most knowledgeable chess fan. The word fan is probably even a stretch. However, I did play the game quite a bit with my dad when I was younger. I never won many games, and if I did, it was usually by dumb luck. Knowing what I know now, I can tell you that I failed because I was unable to do 2 important things. 1, being able to think many moves ahead, and 2, predict my opponent's next move. As I grow older, I have tried to get better at both abilities and also try to get my opponent to make the moves I want him to make. Some people are just naturals at it. I am not one of these people, but I believe Donald Trump is. A recent Netflix miniseries called The Queen's Gambit is a fascinating fictional series about the game of chess and, in particular, a young woman's ascension into the mastery of the game. It was truly a great watch and cinematic delight in many ways. I highly encourage anyone who still has a Netflix account to watch it. There were a couple of very interesting scenes that caught my attention, and I immediately began to form a correlation, an analogy that I think explains events from January 2021 until now, in the simplest of chess terms. On January 20th, 2021, we were all shocked that Trump just walked away. This behavior was both contradictory to what we know of Trump's character and a dereliction of duty, at least by POTUS, who repeatedly predicted that his enemies would cheat and steal an election. In chess terms, it would be the equivalent of toppling your king in defeat. But as events continue to unfold, it becomes increasingly apparent that Trump did not lose the chess match, but in fact had already won. You see, I learned from watching The Queen's Gambit that in chess tournament play, it is often the courteous thing to whisper, "I resign," to your opponent when it is mutually agreed there is no way for you to win. Often they will use terms like mate in 6 or mate in 10 to indicate that in 6 moves or in 10 moves, you will be checkmated and there is no point in continuing. Now I'm going to editorialize. Guys, that's incredibly rare for somebody to think that many moves ahead towards checkmate, then count it out. Okay? Not really a big thing. It is possible to continue in hopes that your opponent makes a careless mistake, but that is seen as rude and disrespectful. It is also customary to shake your opponent's hand, but it's not a rule. In the Netflix miniseries, the main character, Beth, had to be taught these nuances, and in turn, I learned them as well. When I look back on the events surrounding the November 2020 election fraud, the ensuing appointments Trump made just prior to his leaving, and the curious announcement on December 23rd by then acting Secretary of Defense Christopher Miller, I am convinced we witnessed the end of the chess game. It was on this date, 2 days before Christmas, that Secretary Miller thanks Mike Pence for his involvement in the, quote, most complex military operations in our history. I will not go into detail about all that I have researched this past year, but I believe this is when Team Trump declared mate in 10 or 11 months, and it was understood by both sides that the game was lost by the deep state. The difference between the deep state opponent we are against and the numerous felled opponents of Beth is that the deep state is not inclined to topple its king, whisper, I resign, and they definitively will not shake our hands. The deep state, in its arrogance and foolishness, is going to insist we play out every move left to them in hopes that Team Trump makes some catastrophic mistake. Here is a hint. Trump will not make such a mistake. I also learned that the Queen's Gambit is one of the oldest opening strategies in the history of the game. It is an opening strategy by the white teams to basically surrender a pawn to open the middle of your opponent's defenses for attack. At the time of its creation, it was seen as a bold and aggressive move with incredibly successful results. What made it so effective is that you force your opponent to either accept the trade-off or defend it, and in either case, the advantage goes to white. This is so Trump-esque that Trump deserves his own opening strategy. You see, it is easy to see that Trump gave up a white pawn or a white house, lowercase w, lowercase h, to open the middle of the deep state for attack. Let me be the first to say it. January 20th was the culmination of Trump's opening strategy, Trump's Gambit. Having declared victory in the cyber war in December and Trump having caught them all Trump had to do was make his first move on the chessboard, and it was over. So here we are, almost 10 months removed, and the resident is still occupying the White House. What is going on? The game is over and they lost, right? Yes, they did lose. But the deep state will not topple Biden. They will not whisper, we resign. And they certainly will not shake our hands and go quietly into obscurity. No. We are left with playing out the moves that Trump already knows are being played until there are no more moves to make and no more black pieces left. Thanks to Trump's Gambit. This game of chess was over almost before it began. One more hat tip. Special Ops Kim, thank you so very much for sending me all the stuff you send me. Big thank you to GR8 Cat. Great Cat, thank you so much for subscribing. I genuinely appreciate it. All right, let's keep on going, guys. These subscriptions are freaking badass. All right, let's see here. Maybe the first move has been deferred to flush out more black pieces on the chessboard. I personally find the chess analogy to be a little bit strained, but I get it. I get it completely. But going too deeply into calling it chess, like the whole analogizing it to a mate in 10 type situation is fine. It's cute and it's nice. But the real world has too many possible moves for it to be a good analogy. It's a good analogy, not a perfect analogy, is how I put that. But yeah, and part of the reason why they can't say I resign is because I think they end up getting put in Gitmo if they resign. So, all right, another from Special Ops Kim. As of October 18th, 2021, more than 189 million people in the United States had been fully vaccinated against COVID-19. During the same time, CDC received reports from 50 U.S. states and territories of 41,127 patients with COVID-19 vaccine breakthrough infection who were hospitalized or died. Steve Deese says, according to Worldometer's daily COVID statistics, there were 9,060 total deaths with COVID in the United States between October 13th through 18th. And according to the CDC data I just showed you, 3,679 of them were vaccinated. 3,679 one-week increase in vaccinated COVID deaths divided by the 9,060 total COVID deaths that same week equals 40% of all COVID deaths in the United States last week were vaccinated. To repeat, the data I just took a screenshot from the CDC shows a 51.2% increase in fully vaccinated COVID deaths in just the last week. And CDC is now reporting 40% of all COVID deaths in America last week were vaccinated. So, CC to the disgusting Mara Liasson, as well as everyone else who read her attempt to manipulate my updates last weekend with what was either her weak go at peddling fake news or her inability to understand what the term last week means. Mara Liasson is a deep state scumbag. And the idea that 189 million Americans are fully vaccinated, it doesn't sound right to me. I don't think it's accurate. And if it's not accurate, then some of these numbers are not as easy to interpret as you need them to be, because the percentage of the population that is fully vaccinated is an essential part of analyzing these numbers. All right, so quick one from J.B. White. Food for thought. Are we, as oppressed Americans, at the Robin Sage component of the training? The final stage? Is Q representative of a combined civilian and military effort, including, for instance, the cyber ninjas and Sidney Powell, to bring the fight to our adversary in a devastating array of directions and approaches designed to bring about total victory? My confirmation bias likes this speculation very much, but check out this article, see what you think. Robin Sage. How the Army's Robin Sage puts Special Forces hopefuls to a final make-or-break test in the forests of North Carolina. I'm just going to read the description. This is what Robin Sage is. Every few months, a swath of central North Carolina becomes the territory of Pineland, where aspiring Green Berets test their mettle and their skills. Robin Sage, as it is known, is the culminating exercise in the Special Forces pipeline, and is where those students get their first real taste of what Special Forces does. Long story short, JB surmises that what Q was doing throughout the late 2017 to late 2020, so three solid years of Q drops, was essentially training the people as special operators in the strange war. Because who are the combatants in the strange war? All of us. All of us normal people, or peasants, I've often said. Slaves, I've said. We need a new word. I don't like that word. It's too negative. It gets some points home, but we need to know what to call ourselves. Anybody but the elite, the decent people of the world. The children of God would be one way to refer to us. And we have been trained by Q. And JB says, maybe this time, this simulation, this whatever you want to call it, this time with Biden, the resident, maybe this is our Robin Sage. Maybe this is the final exam. Maybe this is how we show our mettle. And I got to say, I cannot be more deeply humbled and grateful for the behavior of the people in this community. One thing that Mermaid Miss K, St. Richie, JB, Matt Trump, Sarah Brunette, all of us noticed. was that we're real advanced as far as what we understand in this community, as opposed to what the Patriot Roundup or Patriot Double Down is putting in front of us. It was all mostly, other than Patel's stuff, which we're all very familiar with, it was all very, one of our people, I don't remember which one it was all very pedestrian. Here's an essay from St. Richie. I wanted to let everyone know that I have very important and personal reasons for maintaining anonymity. This is quite important for long-term viability. Trust me, there is a longer-term plan. Part of the reason for my coming here was not only to meet some in this community for whom I have great admiration, but to begin working with a few to formulate the greater plan. The Reading Epic Threads community has visionaries and it will be key players in the other side of all this moment in time. Absolutely, sir. Agreed completely. Absolutely. Anonymity can still be very important to some people. It's a flu. Yes, it is a flu. Actually, it's whatever the priests in white coats say it is. Your secret is safe with me, St. Richie. What secret is that? Oh, Matt Trump. I wish all of you in this stream could be here with us, except for the infiltrators sent to spy on us, of which we almost certainly have some, which is kind of flattering, to be honest with you, because I'm just some dude who gets like a couple thousand views on my stream, which is great. I love my 1,000 views. I've worked hard for them. But the fact is, we're a small community. So to have infiltrators in this, that's just nuts. All right. What was the Double Down audience reaction to Patel's presentation? I would describe it as the most engaged reaction of any presentation without even a close second. There were people lining up to ask questions. There was clear familiarity with the subject matter. And just in general, we should be aspiring to have lots of presentations of that quality and not the kind of stuff that we've been seeing. And not that the stuff we've been seeing has no place. It just, they would make better YouTube videos. What we're doing here with this devolution stuff, with the St. Richie stuff, we're playing at a very high level here. So I actually proposed this at dinner yesterday. I was talking to Matt. We need to have a Fest, Reading Epic Threads in-person event. Don't know where it should be. Don't know who should speak. But we don't even need to invite anybody outside the community. I mean, we can invite people, but do we need anybody who's not in this community to be a member of the speakers group? So if you guys would just kind of shoot me your thoughts on a good location for that. Matt suggested Houston, but I really enjoy traveling. So, and Houston's kind of swampy, like literally a swamp. So there's that. Not a desert either, though, because my lips have been chapped this whole time. So not Vegas. Maybe think like medium-sized rural town with cool sights to see in a bright red state. Just a thought. But we need to start thinking about doing that. And I want to say, first of all, obviously, we do not wish to turn this event into a profit center. We wish to break even. So whatever we do, any expenses associated with it will be to make it so that we just break even on it. That's it. So that's what I'm thinking of, because I would prefer to have Patel Patriot, St. Richie, JB White, Matthew Trump, Mermaid Miss K, Baldylocks, Guy Smith, the whole crew. Speaking of which, James MG at Verizon.net. James MG at Verizon.net. If you don't have your freaking Reading Epic Threads coin, you are missing a serious piece of history. These are $15 a piece, guys. Email jamesmg at Verizon.net. He'll send you instructions on how to get one. You're going to want to get one, because when this war is over, 30 years from now, your grandchild says, Grandma, Grandpa, what did you do in the Great Strange War? You won't have to say, well, I shoveled shit in Louisiana. All right, so let's go ahead and just, please, pgunnels@gmail.com. I want you guys to come see me in person. I want all of you. All of you. So email me. Tell me where you think it should be. Tell me when you think it should be. Tell me how we can make it work. Tell me what we should present. We need to do this thing. We need to do it sooner rather than later. So there we are. All right. So we're right at 1 hour. And with that in mind, For those of you who subscribed, let me just make sure to say any more thank yous. All right, so no new subscribers right there, but thanks those of you who did. I really, really appreciate it more than you know. So let's just let me know what you think about the Retfest. If you like that name, read it, or Threadfest. Threadfest, that's what we should call it. So anyway, let us pray. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray, and do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow.
I will be the greatest president that God ever created.